Hello everyone, this is Marcia Melendez, Realtor, bringing you pragmatic information about the real estate market and tips for managing your local business. Today I want us to look at the subject, renting versus owning. Which do you think is better? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're at it, please subscribe to my channel so I can continue to bring you valuable content and also just to show me some love. So let's look at it. I think there are three areas that we need to look at when we're evaluating this subject of renting versus owning your own property. Cost, lifestyle, and wealth accumulation. So for cost, no one is going to deny that it's cheaper, initially at least, to rent an apartment rather than to buy a house. You're going to rent, find your 1 month security, first month's rent, possibly a broker's fee, boom, you're ready to go. If you're going to purchase a house, however, you do have to save some money. Even for first-time home buyers that can pay down as little as 3%, you still have to accumulate that cash, and you also have to have money for your closing expenses. Closing expenses are those transactional fees that you're going to have to pay on the day when you actually sign for your home. Taxes, legal fees, property search fees. There's a whole myriad of them, and we'll look at that in another video. But definitely, to get into a house as opposed to get into an apartment takes more money, more planning. And also, conversely, when you're ready to move, you're a lot more mobile if you have an apartment. If you want to give it up and move to someplace else, boom, let your landlord know and you're out of there. With a home, you have to think about planning so that the move goes smoothly. You have to think about saving, unless you can afford to keep it and do a house hack, but we'll look at that in another video. And also, you have to think about the time involved. You're not going to sell your house in a month unless you give it to one of those cash buyers. By the way, I do have cash buyers. If you're thinking of selling your home, reach out to me. But basically, you're a lot more mobile, and it is cheaper when you rent initially than if you were to purchase a property for your family. The next area we need to look at is lifestyle. Lifestyle is a huge factor. As we said, renters are more mobile. They can pick up and leave whenever they want to. They don't have to worry about maintaining an apartment or outside of the property because their landlords do that for them. As a matter of fact, this is a huge reason that most people tell me whenever I encourage people to buy property, they say they don't want to put up with clogged toilets or the boiler going out in the wintertime. That definitely is something you have to plan for when you own a home, but at least you know so up front, and the rewards for doing so can be greater than renting. So that's something to look at. On the plus side for homeowners, I think they enjoy a better quality of life overall when you own as opposed to when you rent. You know, when you rent, you have your apartment, you can fix it up, but a lot of people don't put in major improvements because it's not theirs. If you own a house, you can improve it the way you want it, inside and out. You also have more space for your family, inside and out. And, you know, there have been studies done that show that children that are raised in homes that their parents own do better in school than those that live in rental apartments. Overall, they get better test scores, and you find more children from homes that their parents live in. More of those children end up going on for higher education. So that's something to think about. Another factor is the areas. From what I have seen in Brooklyn, at least, in an area which is owned primarily by homeowners as opposed to renters, there's a better quality of life. The area just seems to be maintained better. Homeowners have a vested interest in keeping their homes a certain way because that reflects on their property values. If you're a renter, yes, you want a nice neighborhood to live in, but you're not that concerned about local services. And I think that's a huge factor that contributes to better neighborhoods when you have a neighborhood that's full of private home owners as opposed to a neighborhood that is full of renters. Finally, let's look at wealth accumulation. Despite the cost acquired to acquire your home, nobody is going to deny that in the long term, it can make much more sense. In the economy that we live in today, I think ordinary people like you and I need as much help as we can to become wealthy, or at least to be comfortable and not have to worry day by day how we're going to get by. And I think real estate is one of the easiest ways to do that. I think it was Andrew Carnegie who said 90% of all millionaires become so through owning real estate. And even though the majority of us may not become millionaires, let's face it, home values in most parts of the country increase by about 4% a year. So that's added equity to your initial investment. And in Brooklyn, we have seen those price appreciations at 10% per year and more. Let's look at this a little closer. If you purchase a home for $500,000 and you put down 5%, you will have invested $25,000 of your own money. If the value of that home goes up by a minimum of 4% in 1 year, your $500,000 investment is now worth $520,000. That's a return of 80% of your original investment in 1 year. It sounds like a pretty good deal for me, especially if you're like most of Americans who don't seem to believe in saving regularly for their future. I have to admit, we were in that category. We didn't really save regularly for the long term, but we always paid our mortgages on time. Unless you're one of those people that live in rent-controlled apartments or in a city like New York that has a lot of rent protections and a lot of subsidizes for renters, in a home, you can live there and maintain it for a number of years, and you'll come out much better than living in a cheap apartment. Another factor that people don't think about, even those that have rent subsidized apartments, sometimes that prevents them from purchasing a home and having the benefits of that wealth accumulation, because they think, oh, I'm in a cheap apartment, why do I need to buy a house? I'll be here forever. But you know, sometimes nothing lasts forever, so I really think it's better to purchase. Overall, it's a very personal decision to make whether you're going to rent versus buy, but I think it is the better decision to make. After renting for 30 years, you have a box of receipts to show. After owning your own home for 30 years, you usually have a pretty good investment. You have appreciation from that property, and it allows you more flexibility as to when you want to retire and your lifestyle once you've retired. So all the way around, I think for the little sacrifices that you have to make in the beginning to save up the money for a deposit, I think you're way ahead by owning property and living in it rather than renting an apartment. Please tell me what you think, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Until the next time, Marcia Melendez, Realtor.